I'm holding on to the railing because I'm scared of heights. I'm over it.
That's why I do construction. That's real estate.
Now, most of the people hate me. They like you. For some reason.
For some reason.
For some
good reason.
When we reconnected. See, we're still learning Russian. I think that's...
Russian?
Oh, no. We're still learning English. How do you meet? It was almost 9 years ago.
10 years ago.
No, it's gonna be 10 years ago in a few months.
Yeah, so let's say 10.
So almost 10 years ago, you were one of the first people that I met when I arrived. He was my roommate. He was my first roommate in the US. And then we ended up looking for an apartment in Los Angeles together.
We had a porn actress, Bridget B, living next door.
Oh yeah, totally.
Real Hollywood story, man.
I got in real estate like 6 years ago, selling real estate in California. And what was your first experience with real estate?
My first job in Russia was at real estate agency.
Oh, I knew you were a sneaky but I remember seeing you after a couple of years of not seeing you. You've traveled the US and you were telling me about picking up the houses here in Pittsburgh. That was what, like 5 years ago? I was just getting into real estate, selling it in Los Angeles.
Yep.
And I thought you were getting into this industry, fixing houses here in Pittsburgh. And I got super curious about what were you doing.
Yeah. I remember that. You had one set of skills, like useful skills, and I had another one, so we kind of connected together, and that's how we started this company.
We bring different skill sets to this relationship. That's what kind of keeps us moving forward.
Romantic shit going on.
As you mentioned before, I'm very detailed oriented, and you see the big picture way better than I do. So you're an ideas guy.
Kinda trying to
get it done, guy.
I'm getting done, guy. I was living in Los Angeles at the time, back in 2014, I believe, and I was struggling, obviously, because I was living only like a few blocks from the ocean in Long Beach, in beautiful Long Beach, in a beautiful neighborhood called Belmont Shore, but I was feeling really, really bad just because I wasn't doing the thing I wanted to do, and I wanted to do real estate and music. I barely were doing music, and there is no way you can do any business like flipping houses or whatever without any money in Los Angeles, having any money in Los Angeles. So that's why I started looking for other places, like more affordable ones, and I choose Sacramento. So we moved to Sacramento. We spent some time living in Sacramento, and I figured that I don't really like Sacramento. Phoenix, Arizona, Las Vegas, Nevada, Miami. I was like, hell, I have a friend in Pittsburgh. Why wouldn't go and visit him in Pittsburgh and see how Pittsburgh is doing? And I came here and I was shocked, like how beautiful this place is and how much opportunities it has for me to offer. I've been living here ever since, I guess since 2014 or 15, and I'm really happy here. So house stock in Pittsburgh is really old.
Wait, how old is this house? It's like 1900.
Yeah,
1905
it's over 100 years old. And it's really hard to work with, believe it or not, because there are so many hidden, problems that you cannot see while you're just putting your offer and just picking up the property. But more you dig, more you see that how, up this house is. We'll see what we can do. Maybe we'll put insulation all over. But it makes it a little bit more charming to do rehabs here, because look at all these beautiful houses. Even this one right next to us, look at that. It's like probably at least 5,000 or 6,000 square foot, and it's just a regular house in the neighborhood. So how beautiful is that? And you cannot find something like that in California, especially for that cheap. Not only Pittsburgh architecture is charming, but it's kind of nice to be in that place where you feel like you can do something good, you know, like comparing to San Francisco. I used to live in San Francisco. You know, I felt so bad that, you know, no matter where you look, it costs at least like 1 million, you know. So even if you wanna start doing something like business wise or real estate wise, like those numbers, they can scare the hell out of you. But here, like first house we picked up, it cost us 5,000, believe it or not, and it was almost in livable condition. And that's how I got my experience doing rehabs. So we picked up quite a few rentals for like 13k, 17k, 20k, 29k. So it's like these numbers speaks by themselves. We kind of gathered that experience, and now we're focusing on more pricey neighborhoods, I would say. And but houses are still the same charming Pittsburgh. So being from originally from Russia, and actually we traveled a lot in Europe and in other countries, and we saw how people live in those countries. After traveling so much, we discovered that, you know, countries like Scandinavian countries, for example, they have so much to offer, like design wise. So we're trying to bring as many cool European ideas as we can, and trying to nest them here in Pittsburgh. So, and you know, that's our goal, to bring something interesting to this city using old housing stock and bringing new modern ideas. We don't see that pretty often here, at least here in Pittsburgh.
Always was curious about different strategies around the investing, and we got to the point of organizing the business together with Jay. I felt like there was something that I could bring to the table that could be beneficial for both of us. There's always something that I can learn from him, for sure. Maybe there's something that he can learn from me. I wanted to bring the skill set that I have in Los Angeles, just organizing the business and running the business mostly on the marketing side, I would say. Looking for the leads, talking to people, and finding those houses off market. Bringing this element of organization to this cooperation helps us do the business a little bit more efficiently. I take on the responsibilities of marketing a lot of properties, of creating the marketing materials behind that, and obviously all of the back end of finding the properties that we would need, where Jay does a lot of he uses a lot of his experience in renovating properties. We do want to bring the degree of minimalism, the degree of Scandinavian designs, and just our experiences of traveling to Europe for the most part, and just living in countries like Ukraine, Russia. We found this very interesting niche that allows us to bring this young hipster, almost like spirit, into this old historical city. And I feel like a lot of people that go through our properties, they dig it. There's many different reasons why we do what we do, and one of those reasons is because without creating something new, we have an opportunity to preserve the old culture, the old historical house and stock. Most of the properties that we purchase were built in the beginning of 20th century. People used to live in a completely different way back then. The life has changed drastically over the last 100 years. So if you would think about it, a lot of the properties that we would purchase would not have a parking spots. Why? Because back in 1905, when the house was built, people would take horses. People would take the rides on a rail in order to get to their works. It's actually not that common to have a parking spots in this neighborhood.
Yeah, it's hard to park. That's why it'll bring more value.
So the way that the rooms in the house are structured, the way that the position of the different rooms is set up in a house right now cannot be used at this point in time, just because it's not possible for young generation, for young people to use those rooms by the purpose that was designated to them 100 years ago. So what we do a lot of the times, we would rearrange the rooms, we would bring it to the standards of 21st century. But I love the idea of taking something that is very old and putting a twist on it. Here in Pittsburgh, we can find a lot of historic architecture, Victorian houses, Queen Anne houses, and houses that are considered an absolute luxury in places like San Francisco or Los Angeles, for example. Here in Pittsburgh, a lot of those houses are dilapidated. So what we do, we come in and we clean up the outside of the properties a lot of the times, completely changing the inside of the houses, rewiring the property, making it possible for the 21st century person, millennials, just like me and Igor, being able to live in those properties and not just live, but live comfortably, still enjoying the historical background and the historical value that the house has to bring. This is one of the things that is impossible to do in some other places. Here in Pittsburgh, it is possible, and that's something that makes my job and Igor's jobs is so much more enjoyable.